The idea is instead of giving more air time to the cult of celebrity, why don't we just get regular people with a good story to tell who may or may not be good at telling a story and give them the opportunity to tell a story?
Well, Joe, I'm on the wrong show because I'm a celebrity,
I know
motherfucker.
you're a celebrity, and that's the secret is maybe the first season, all my friends will help me out, and then later on I can actually get fucking celebrities. The time I walked to school by myself, age 11, Devil's Steam and Mrs. Wagner. Time I did LSD and watched my neighbor do a satanic ritual.
Oh, Eugene, that bastard.
The night I partied in Tijuana until sunup all by myself with the locals.
Jesus.
And Trish, I think the story that we are going to center in on today, it is simply titled "The Time I Broke Out of the Hospital to Go to the Most Anticipated Party of the Year." Trisha Rae Stahl, age 18. Since
Yep.
we're getting into it, why don't we just pick up and start here? So we have an old friend of mine, Trisha Rae Stahl, on the telephone, and I met Trish through my college roommate, whom has been on the show as well, back in, I want to say it's either late 1994 or early 1995, whatever our first semester was.
That sounds about
Were you
right.
guys a year ahead of us? Because you had your own place.
Yeah, a year ahead of
Okay,
you.
so we were in the dorms, and you guys had your own place on 7th Street across from the pizza shop where I would end up working. And this is a place where we would also ultimately end up living. So we met on the porch. You were friends with Aaron Mahoney, buddies from Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So Trisha and I go way back. In the meantime, Trish has always been an actress. I first saw her in a play called The Chronic Breather. She was the manic wife of, I believe the character was the president or ultimately became the president, but he was like president by proxy and you were kind of pulling the strings. And I just remember you were very manic about funnel cake and it was hilarious. And I was like, oh, this woman's going to always be an actor and is always going to be good at it. And that's been your career. You've started in a number of things. I will backfill on our social media site for this show, but some of the fun things have been your career in horror movies, as well as your stint on Glee as Mrs. Rose, the lunch lady.
Hey guys, I'm Trisha Rae Stahl. I hail from Pennsylvania, but I've been out here in Los Angeles trying to do some acting for a number of years. Best known, as Joe said, for my work on Glee, Tyler Perry's Too Close to Home. I did some fan favorites like Criminal Minds, How to Get Away with Murder, and my horror movie collection, which I am very, very into being in horror movies. So I'm so happy I've had the opportunity to do that. Speaking of horror movies, I do have a horror movie called Wineville currently on Tubi, and you can also watch Too Close to Home by Tyler Perry on Tubi.
Wineville, a woman who fled her abusive father's vineyard as a teenager, returns after his death. She uncovers the family's dark secrets, which have festered, leading to violence and death as she settles the estate. Directed by, is it Brand Roderick or
Brandy Roderick. She was a Playboy Playmate.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. I do know who she is.
Best known for multiple appearances, also on The Celebrity Apprentice.
Okay, so I remember Brandy Roderick from when I was a delivery boy at Elise Hoagie's outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. And the guys would have me stop by the magazine shops, which they had before the internet, and have me pick up cigarettes and whatever for them, Dutchies, so they could empty them out and make joints. But also, whenever the Playboys came out, they would have me buy them Playboys. My most memorable one being the first time I had to buy one, which was the cover that Elle McPherson was on. And I remember going in there and be like, "Oh, sir, can I have 10 Playboys?" Dude, how old are you? I'm like 16. They didn't give a fuck. But we're also talking Wineville, came out 2024. Brandy Roderick, the director, and now I want to absolutely star in one of her movies, so I might be shaking your tree for that.
I want to take a moment to say about Brandy Roderick that, of course, you will have some prejudgment when you work with a Playboy Playmate that they are best known for their beauty, etc. Brandy Roderick was so passionate, so professional. What a wonderful director to work with.
Nice.
Because of being an artist and working, getting the joy you get from working with other passionate artists, I mean, Brandy was so passionate. I just absolutely loved it.
I'm not surprised to hear that. My experience is that we do have prejudgment of people that we haven't met, and things like the black tax, where a black person has to work twice as hard as a white person in order to get the same amount of money or the same amount of credit.
Same amount of respect.
Exactly. And so now you have a Playboy model and a beautiful woman come in, and the misconception is she might have been resting on her laurels.
Yep,
But
that's
the reality is you can absolutely be a force majeure. If you're well-rounded in that way or multifaceted, then you surprise people and catch them off guard.
And another thing that was evidentiary of her being a wonderful person, besides being gorgeous was everyone from her past showed up to support her
Nice.
in her directing debut. All of the other Playmates, her director from Baywatch, yeah, everybody showed up to support her. And I took that as evidence that she's always been a hardworking, good lady.
That's right. She was Leah Dyer in Baywatch. She was on that show for 22 episodes. She was in Starsky and Hutch and The Nanny Diaries, and then I believe Wineville to be her directorial debut.
Yep, pretty cool lady.
I'm glad to hear you had a good experience. I'll put it on my watch list. Toot the sweet. But right now, we're going to talk about capricious youth, and we have to travel way back, Trish, to when you were 18, which would be the year I met you, maybe. So that story would have been fresh.
I would have met you the year, 2 years after.
So 2 years after this happened.
Because I took 2 years off before I went to college.
Okay, so help set the stage for me, Trish. If you were opening up a script after the title page and you read "Fade In," what would the first descriptor be?
It was a dark, humid evening.
The night was sultry.
In rural Pennsylvania.
When we say rural, if you tell anyone if you're from Pennsylvania, they're like, you mean Pittsburgh or Philadelphia? You say anywhere else, they're like, where?
I've gotten this. Is Pittsburgh near Pennsylvania? I'm like, it's a city. Pittsburgh's a city in Pennsylvania.
Williamsport is if you found the exact center of Pennsylvania, which is a relatively rectangular state. It's right there.
Yeah. There was the flickering of a large flame.
Was it over a bowl or a bong by chance?
So no, it was over a citronella bug candle. How rural can you get?
Oh, nice, nice. Quite often used as an ashtray so that when you light the citronella, it's disgusting.
Yeah, so we were in quite the different, we were not in Philly or Pittsburgh. We were in the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Very rural Pennsylvania. As a matter of fact, I'd left my small rural town to travel into the rural countryside.
Oh my, you went even further off
deep
the grid.
Into the woods
Nice.
To go to this party.
Nice.
I was deep in the woods.
Stepping around crop circles, little green men and inside out cows.
Yeah. Citronella bug candle, you are quite right about how nasty it gets when people put stuff in it.
Yeah.
Because what had happened was I was sitting in a lawn chair near a cooler, which you very much should be in the yard in the woods in Pennsylvania.
Oh, hell yeah.
I was doing what I was supposed to do, sitting near a fire with a cooler beside me. The cooler had the citronella candle on it.
Okay.
Now, this was not a little picnic table citronella candle. This was like a giant keep the mosquitoes away for 40 miles citronella bucket.
Was this a 3-wicker?
It probably was a 3-wicker.
Oh, Jesus. That's like the equivalent of when just a regular atom bomb went to like an ICBM, which would be a nuclear missile with multiple warheads inside. Things weren't terrifying enough to mosquitoes. Now you have basically.
Yeah. And scarier for the mosquitoes is that you couldn't even see how many flames there were because everyone had used the citronella candle as a mini fireplace to burn their cigarette packs, their cigarette butts. Even though there was a big fire right there, people were enjoying throwing their trash in the citronella bucket.
Yeah.
So it had become a giant second bonfire inside the tin bucket.
The things we did before Instagram.
Yeah, and it started to melt the cooler.
Oh,
so
no.
The next person that came over for a beer was like, well, we can't have this. Let's move this shit.
Yeah.
So he got a stick because you couldn't pick up the citronella candle because the handle was really hot from this monster flame. He got a stick and he used it to get the little handle and to lift the citronella bonfire off of the cooler and set it on the ground. Well, when he set it on the ground, he set it too near me. So I was feeling too much heat from this citronella candle. I was like, dang, that thing's close. Let me use my foot to gently nudge it away.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't very smart.
Mistake number 1.
Yeah, it's not like it slid right across the floor. I mean, it was sitting on a dirt ground. So I went to move it with my foot. Somehow, I don't know if the handle got entangled with my sock or my flip-flop.
no.
Something got caught on the candle handle. Something got caught on the candle handle.
I can't imagine 18-year-old Trish gently nudging this thing away, though.
I was like, ooh, that's hot. Let me.
Were you kicking it like a Randy House cat?
No, I was not. I was trying to gently push it away, and then it got too hot.
You weren't kicking it like a drunk family mule on Applejack?
And so it got too hot.
Okay.
I'm trying to push it away, and by that time, I was like, ooh, that shit's hot, so let me push it harder.
Yeah.
So when I went to push it harder, of course, I realized it's stuck on me, and then I freak out and kick.
Yeah.
And then because this thing had been burning trash for 2 hours, it had about 5 inches of hot wax melted in there.
Yeah. You don't happen to know how napalm is made, do you?
No. Why?
Napalm is made by a similarly including an incendiary with some form of extension like Vaseline or paraffin.
Oh.
What keeps it burning for so long.
Ah, wonderful.
Yeah, you basically made napalm. Napalm is made by adding a gelling agent to a volatile fuel.
Oh my
Commonly,
God.
gasoline, kerosene, or benzene. The thick, jelly-like mixture is engineered to stick to surfaces while burning at a high temperature for a prolonged period.
Oh, that's what I suffered. And that's why I suffered.
Yeah, and dear audience, when we were 18, that was like on the tail end of movies like First Blood and Missing in Action and all those like guys who went to Vietnam movies and are now fucked up. This would have been a sight to see in the middle of Pennsylvania in the dark of night.
As I tried to more swiftly kick the bucket away, I did realize it was attached to my sock or something. I don't know what it was attached to. And it wouldn't get off me, so I panicked and started freaking out to shake it off me because at this time the flames were creeping up my leg.
Yeah.
And my leg was, pretty much on fire.
Yeah.
Adding fuel to the fire, I successfully kicked the bucket away, but then dumped the 5 inches of hot wax, which is meant to stick to surfaces and burn at high temperatures, as you said. Stuck to my leg from below the knee to the tip of my toes. And so, yeah, I had to make a mad dash across the backyard into the house and put my leg in the sink to run water on it, which is the only thing I did right, the doctor later said.
Yeah, that was a good move.
Yeah, putting it in the sink to run water on it. But then we did something we should not have done because I planned on partying the rest of the night and not going to the hospital. So we were just going to doctor it up. Yeah, we did. We shouldn't have put nothing on it. We shouldn't have wrapped it, Joe. No. But we were 18.
Yeah.
And we put some kind of salve that was in the emergency kit. And then we wrapped it with, I think we just put a big old ball sock on it or something like that,
Yeah.
of the guy whose party it was.
Yeah.
And I continued to party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
I continued to party like that. I mean, that's how we did it back in the day. But a couple hours later, I was having a lot of pain. Well, we're out in the middle of the woods in Pennsylvania and there's no medical treatment.
Yeah.
But he said he did know a guy that had like a little clinic in his house.
You can buy all sorts of things from him. Quaaludes, goofballs, uppers, downers, sideways, Benzies.
I had no idea what to expect.
Oh, he's also a veterinarian.
That's how it felt.
Like you're in a Jason Bourne movie.
Well, it was so surreal because, okay, first of all, I just have flashes of memories of this because by this time I was very intoxicated. And we're flying across the backcountry roads in a pickup truck trying to get me to this country doctor.
Yeah.
I don't know what I expected, but it was so bizarre and surreal when you walked into this guy's house clinic.
Yeah.
Like out in the middle of the country, out in the middle of the woods. And we went into this guy's house and he had like...
He's like elbow deep in a cow's vagina trying to
he like converted his garage into a medical clinic of so all of a sudden I was like in the emergency room, like a mini 1-room emergency room.
Oh, nice.
It was so bizarre. He'd done a good job though. It looked real sterile and stuff. It was weird. He came in the middle of the night. It was a bizarre situation.
Yeah, just ask all the skin suits in his basement what they think about it.
Exactly.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You went on to star in movies that starred exactly the same way, Trish.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
So the doctor just told me what I did right, what I did wrong, took the salve off and stuff like that, and put on his own wrapping of some sort. I don't remember exactly what he did for me, but he just doctored me up and I went back to the party. It was a quick pit stop in the middle of the woods. We got back in the pickup truck, went back to party. It was still going and partied all night long.
We want to note to the audience that there's nothing about being 18 that means you have any sensibility whatsoever, except for your priorities are squarely intact because going back and partying is exactly what you should have done.
Because you never, ever, ever think there's any way in real life you could lose your leg when you're 18.
When you traveled through the woods and across the land into the fields and into a stranger's house in the middle of the night who happens to have an operating table set up in his garage. I was somewhere similarly and I turned to my friend and I said to her and I go, horror movies start this way. And she turned around without missing a beat, looked at me and said, so does porn. That was a good time. A few years back, I tore my Achilles heel mountain biking in Moab. And we didn't know it was torn. We just know that my foot wasn't working and I was in a lot of pain. So the sensible thing we did was get down from the hill, duct tape my foot, make a duct tape cast, and then continue partying. I ended up eating a giant handful of mushrooms and stomping off into the middle of a field because Moab's the darkest place in this country, setting up my camera to take some long exposure nighttime photographs and then turn my camera on. And as all the magical blinking lights inside the camera informing me of important things that the camera was doing just exploded in my face. face, and I was like, I can't possibly operate this camera right now, and needed somebody else to do it. Meanwhile, I'm stomping around on a torn Achilles heel and a head full of
I'm
shrooms.
happy you still got friends you can do shrooms in fields with.
Who needs a field when we got a nice big beach down the
That's
street,
true. That's true.
Trish?
Man, those days are gone. I got nobody.
We got you covered. I think you just need a good babysitter for 12 to
A couple
24 hours.
days.
Back to the party, you're patched up. What was going on now? Like, what was the state of your leg? Was it open air now or just wrapped in
Well,
some?
it was wrapped in something, and I'll tell you what, it didn't. The doctor did a good job because I just partied the rest of the night. There was no incident. Like
Nice.
my leg was a non-issue the rest of the night. When it became an issue again was the next morning.
Yeah.
So we stayed the night. I don't remember where or how I slept with this messed up leg, but I do remember that by morning I was unable to drive with it.
Okay.
It had obviously swollen. It was very painful. I had to lay it on I was driving what, a Chevy Chevelle, I think. Chevy Chevette or a Chevy Chevelle, one of those two.
Yeah.
I had to lay my leg across the passenger side. There must have been a very little console.
Yeah.
I drove with my left leg home, which I would never do that again today either because I fear my own death. But back then I didn't. And I was driving through the mountains.
Yeah. I think I drove this car because there was one time we were going back from Williamsport to IUP in Indiana, Pennsylvania. You, me, and Mahoney, we all wanted McDonald's, but you wanted to eat and not drive. So I was driving. And of course,
got it. I believe it.
I got the impression that you enjoyed smoking weed and that we used to smoke a lot of it around that time.
Oh, yeah.
May or may not have been ridiculously
memories.
high while driving across, what is it, Route 80? What road connects that direction?
I mean, 80 is the main freeway, yeah, but you take a lot of little
Yeah.
roads through small Pennsylvania towns also.
I'm basically on the freeway driving your car in a fugue of marijuana smoke, my hand in a bag full of McDonald's, driving approximately 25 miles per hour in the fast lane down the freeway. The story of my friends is community driven, community supported. Do you have a story you'd like to tell or a topic you'd like to discuss? Hit me up, joe@tsomf.com. Lovely good times had by all. All right, Trish, so we got through the night. We didn't quite get to the part where you escaped. What's the great escape? How did you wind up where you wound up, and what happened afterwards?
Well, because I was in so much pain with a swollen leg, by the time I made it back, probably about an hour drive back to the main small town I'm from,
Yeah.
Williamsport, I knew I needed to go to the hospital. I went to the hospital, and there was a couple of days, I'm going to just get to the point where I was admitted. There was a couple of days where they had me come back. I had to go back twice a day and have like dead skin removed and have it cleaned. Yeah,
Gross.
it's fun. It's super
Debrided.
fun.
Yeah. Probably put like
And-
Silverdine on it.
Oh, and I
Gross.
remember I had this one doctor who was such a fumbler. Like, he was so freaking awkward. He bent over and scraped my entire leg with his clipboard. He's like, "What's this?" Bent over with his clipboard in his hand, scraped my leg.
Oh, gosh.
And
darn
then when he was leaning over another time, his pen dropped out of his pocket and hit my leg. When
What
you don't
a
have skin on your leg,
Goofball.
it does
No.
not feel good for anything to touch it.
That's poor bedside manner. I worked at a teaching hospital. I worked at the University of Pennsylvania Health System, and
Mhm.
you're surrounded by residents there, and they're fumbling kids who are overtired.
Yeah.
You expect them to make all the mistakes, and I actually didn't watch them make many mistakes, but this guy seemed like a goofball.
He was actually a really nice doctor, but he was a goofball.
Yeah.
He was definitely a goofball.
Nice and $1.50, he'll get you a cup of coffee.
So then finally one night when I'm there for my second wound dressing changing, they told me that it wasn't looking good and that I could lose my leg.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to get admitted to the hospital because there's a party this Friday.
Even though I may lose my leg.
It wasn't real to me.
That's
It's not real to you when you're 18. Like, that shit's not
Yeah.
going to happen.
18-year-old logic. The party is more important.
I can't explain to you the level of FOMO I had when I was that age. I could not miss a party.
Let's make sure we set the stage there because this was right at the beginning. Like, there were maybe pagers, but no kids had cell phones. It was one of those, my mom will drop us off if your mom will pick us up type of thing. You had to coordinate. So if you missed it, you just missed it. No pictures. There wasn't no, hey, meet us halfway through.
Yeah, right. If you missed it, you missed it. That's a good
Yeah.
point, Joe.
So it was more important than it was. And if you missed the way to get there, then you missed that. I've spent many nights walking incredibly far distances because I failed to coordinate properly.
Yeah, I spent many nights driving around, desperately trying to find the spot because I didn't get the news and everybody was already there.
Yeah.
And I had to try to locate them.
Yeah.
It was a big deal to miss the party. It was going to be the party of the year. I remember being so excited for it. And I was like, there's just absolutely no way you're putting me in the hospital unless you can guarantee that I'll be out by Thursday.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't guarantee that. They were pretty pissed off at my attitude.
You've also just teed up the plot to like every high school graduation movie ever, even with comedy, drama, whatever. But it always starts with, I can't miss the big party. Mean Girls, Super Bad.
Oh, true. That's so
Euro
true.
Trip. God, he doesn't know. Okay.
They put me in the hospital. with a highly unlikeliness that I was going to be able to make it out for the party.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't take it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't miss it.
Yeah.
So what I had to do was arrange for a ride.
Okay. So you mean like, in this case, it's like a driver. If you rob a bank, you don't have a ride.
An escape.
Break out of prison, you don't have a ride. You have a driver. You have a getaway driver.
That's what I had. I definitely had a getaway
AKA an
driver.
accomplice. So you needed your accomplice.
And it had to be like a Suburban or something big. So I needed a friend that had a big car because I had to bring my wheelchair with me.
You're breaking out of the hospital against medical advice.
Yeah, currently in a wheelchair and unable to walk.
They label it on your chart so they don't get the lawyers after them. AMA, against medical advice.
Yeah, believe me, I signed
Plus,
many
you're a
document.
minor. Your parents would have been involved in this breakout too.
Well, I was not a minor.
Okay.
I was over 18. I had just graduated from high school.
Okay.
I remember I took 2 years off before college. Those were some big partying years. I mean, high
Nice.
school was too, but yeah, I was already over 18. So my mom was made aware of my plan to break out of the hospital because I didn't want her to worry.
I see.
So I did tell my mom I was breaking out. She knew she couldn't stop me. I don't even remember if she tried. I really don't. But I had a friend. Her name was Cassie. She came to pick me up that night. And what I did was I was a smoker, a cigarette smoker at the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I was smoking against doctor's orders also. They were fighting with me about that. Why did I think that I could get away with smoking a cigarette in the room?
In the hospital?
There's the hospital.
Oxygen in use. It's explosive.
And Joe, what I don't get is that nobody smelled it the way I got. And how did they not smell it?
Nowadays it's different because, remember you would go to a restaurant and the restaurant was just full of smoke.
Everybody smoked back then,
You were allowed to smoke in restaurants. And then when they started being like, oh, there's a smoking section, it didn't fucking matter. Just a few feet over here.
It's just further away from the smoke.
But everywhere you went, every meal that we had up until we were about 25, I want to say, like that shit didn't change.
That's crazy to me.
Every meal that we've had since we were kids has been in rooms full of smoke.
Oh my God.
It's nuts.
Really nuts.
Yeah, and I even smoked too, but I'm so glad that they made that change, even as
You're right. That
an
makes sense
smoker.
why we would have been so sensitive to the smell. So the way I got busted was I had my cigarette butts in my drawer beside me, the telephone table.
Yeah.
And she got in my drawer without permission.
Got all up in your drawers without permission.
Shit. and found a little like lid or something I'd been putting cigarette butts on. So I got busted. So anyhow, I'd been fighting with them already about smoking cigarettes.
Oh no.
I did tell them I was going to go outside and smoke a cigarette. And they, of course, bitched and lectured, but they were already used to it at this point. They did their job, lectured me, and I went outside anyhow to smoke. This time, instead of going out like the normal closest exit that I would usually go out to smoke, I found my way to the emergency room because that's where my friend had to park to pick me up.
Yeah.
I snuck out the emergency room, got in the car, and we took off from the hospital.
Okay.
We made it to the party. I had to crawl on my hands and knees down the sidewalk from our parking space because I don't know, why did we take the wheelchair in? I have no idea, Joe, but I think maybe we weren't that far. It's probably just,
Can I hazard a guess?
Yes.
You probably said something like, I plan to get fucked up tonight, not being able to walk anyway.
I mean, who knows? Because I do remember that all I needed to do was get inside and make it to like table where I sat to play cards and stuff all night.
Okay.
And obviously I couldn't really walk, so I didn't mingle like that. I just stayed at the table.
Nice. Mama Trish at the table.
And the only bathroom though was all the way upstairs. These are old, beautiful mansions that have been chopped into apartments in Williamsport.
Yeah, so like tight little stairways.
Oh,
and
steep servant steps and stuff like
with,
from back
like,
in the day.
curves and turns and wiggly banisters.
And when you drink, you have to pee like every 2 beers.
Yeah.
So I was crawling up and down the stairs all night long. So needless to say, by the time, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Because I did call the hospital after I was gone probably 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I told them that I had gone outside to smoke. This is the weirdest story I told them. That I'd gone outside to smoke, that I had a friend who lived across the street from the hospital who saw me, knew that I was really depressed, could tell that I was just not doing good mentally.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, just come over and watch some TV for a while. I'm right here across. I said, so I'm at my friend's house across the street watching TV and relaxing, and I'll be back when I'm back. They lost their minds on me.
Don't just go back. You're a huge fucking liability for us at this moment.
You're a huge liability.
Uh-huh.
You've got to get back here, blah, blah, blah. I said, I'll be back when I'm back. Back then, we partied till at least 2, 3, whatever o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
When I left the party, I had bloodied knees. My knees were all scraped up and bleeding from crawling all night.
Oh, jeez.
That was the only damage I'd suffered. But I just remember rolling onto the elevator drunk. I'll just never forget being in it. You know, I have so many memories of like sitting in bathroom stalls drunk.
Yeah.
When I sit in a bathroom stall, I feel like I travel back to being drunk again
Yeah.
because I've sat in so many strange bathroom stalls drunk.
Yeah, I've done that on LSD and had to like look at my watch to make sure like
Oh,
that I not in there longer than I need to be. Like 5 hours later, because like you just don't know how much time has passed. You're just like, how long have I actually been in here? I just
exactly, exactly. So I very distinctly remember rolling onto the elevator and
Yeah.
being drunk in that elevator and being like, whoa, like this is a sobering
The
moment.
elevator at the hospital.
The bright, sterile elevator at the hospital was a shocking
That was
change.
your plan. Like after this party, when I go back home, I'm actually going to the
I'm
hospital
just
to
going
go to
back to the
bed.
hospital. Yeah. I absolutely always plan on going back to the hospital. This is one of my grandfather's favorite stories. My grandfather loved it when I was a rebel. He loved this shit.
Yeah.
In the elevator walks at one of the stops, one of the nurses that was working with me.
Yeah.
So she was pissed and she told me to go back to my room and she'd meet me there shortly.
Go to your room.
So I go back to my room. I mean, I didn't, Joe, I did not have a fucking care in the world.
Why wouldn't
I
you? You're
wasn't,
fucking drunk and high. You got everything you
no,
wanted.
I wasn't scared. I didn't care. What could they do to me? That's what I thought.
Yeah.
What can they do to me? I mean, I risked my own health. That's what I did. Otherwise, what are you going to do to me? It's not illegal.
Yeah.
They handed me a stack of papers 10 inches thick to sign for liability reasons. So yeah, I signed a bunch of papers and went to bed, and that was that. They couldn't do nothing about it. My mom thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
My grandfather thought it was hilarious. I mean, my mom, she'd probably prefer I didn't risk my health, but she just had to shake her head and be like, "My daughter."
Yes, I'm glad. Like it's one of those all's well that ends well stories, because we probably wouldn't be having this laughing, joking story if you were
And I
missing a
lost
leg.
my leg from an
Hey,
infection.
Trish, let's tell that hilarious story about that time you lost your leg.
I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. I
3
remember
weeks.
when I got checked in, it was like a Sunday or a Monday, and that's why I was so
geez.
worried about the party on Friday.
We're just going to take a moment to remind our audience, what do you do in the case of a burn? For immediate minor burn care, you cool the burn under running water for 10 to 20 minutes. Remove jewelry, tight clothing, and cover with a sterile bandage. Avoid ice, butter, or breaking blisters. For severe, deep, or large burns larger than your palm, seek emergency care immediately. And this information comes from the Mayo Clinic, by the way. So let's cover some of those key points. Key burn care safety information. The initial aid is use cool, not cold, running water to soothe the burn and stop the burning process. What to avoid? Do not use ice, which can cause further tissue damage. Avoid home remedies like butter, toothpaste, or oil. For blistering, do not break the blisters because they protect the skin against infection. When to seek medical attention? If the burn is deep, leathery, white, or charred skin, the burn is larger than your palm, the burn is on the face, hands, feet, or over a joint, the burn was caused by chemicals or electricity. And then for preventing infection, make sure you clean the area gently with mild soap and water and consider using antibiotic ointment. Okay, back to the show. Around with your leg on fire and in a backwoods country doctor slash veterinarian slash patcher of shot bank robbers operating room in the middle of his garage, and then to the hospital where you, in an 18-year-old fit of passion, declared that you not must miss what? What are you not going to miss,
The
Trish?
most anticipated party of the year.
Yes, quite possibly the most anticipated party of your young partying career. Unlike your home and unlike a hotel or an Airbnb, what is one thing that hospitals frown upon?
Leaving the property and trying to return to the property when you are supposed to be an inpatient.
You're not allowed to come or go as you please, but I love that your plan was to come back from the party and basically going to the hospital. You're going home from the party back to the
No
hospital.
other option ever crossed my mind. I definitely never planned on doing anything but going back to the hospital as soon as I was done partying.
They presented you with a 10-inch thick stack of papers.
Upon my return,
coughed out by
with
their legal
bloody
team.
knees from crawling down the sidewalk and up the bathroom steps and down the bathroom steps all night long, I roll back into the hospital, into the sterile, bright environment, straight into that elevator, really noticing now how drunk I am and what a strange environment this is to be drunk in. And that lady, the lady I worked with
Jesus.
came on the elevator and said, I'll meet you in your room. And she came with a big stack of papers for me to sign to release their liability.
Oh my God. God. That story's definitely been told by other people, mainly employees from that hospital.
And my grandfather, who absolutely thought it was the most hilarious thing he ever heard.
Oh my God, it's a great story. And listening that story, we can poll our listening audience and listeners. If you have a question for Trish, reach out to us at joe@tsomf.com or joe@thestoryofmyfriends.com. But the poll would be, you break two ways when you hear that story. You're either in Camp A or Camp B. And Camp A would be that, oh my God, I can't believe this person did that. And then Camp B would be like, yeah, fucking legendary. Like,
I
this is
definitely believe there's
absolutely
both camps.
the kind of person I endeavor to be. There's no in between. You either recoil in abject horror, like, oh my God, the fucking nerve, the gall,
What an
capricious
idiot.
youth. And then there's the guy who's like doing donuts on his lawn in his motorcycle while brandishing a bottle of Jack Daniels type of thing. You know, the safety third crowd.
Exactly.
So, Trish, I salute you. Hats off to you. I guarantee you that you weren't the most favored patient there. In fact, didn't your mom already try to communicate that to the hospital somehow?
On my hospital room that said worst patient ever.
She hung a sign on your hospital room door
Yeah.
that said worst patient ever.
I wasn't happy to be there.
No, but even on that staff, I guarantee you, behind closed doors, there was some people were applauding you.
I'm sure. I'm so thankful now to them saving my leg. And at the time, I just really couldn't fathom that I was truly in danger because
Yeah.
I was 18 and you just don't think that you could lose your leg when you're 18.
You tell this story, and it seems like, oh, she left the hospital, then came back. But you were in the
3
hospital
weeks. I was
for
in the
how
hospital
long?
for 3 weeks in a wheelchair for 6. So when I left the hospital, I couldn't walk, and that's why I came back with bloody knees.
A 3-week admission to a hospital is a serious, serious injury. That's second and third degree burns.
First, second, and third degree from my toe tip to my knee.
Yeah, and you got to be lowered in the weird baths and coated with jellies and all sorts of weird shit needs to
They
happen
do
all
these
the time. And they need-
hydrotherapy baths, but then after the bath,
Yeah.
you sit there shivering and cold after they drain the water, and then someone comes in with a scrub brush and scrubs the dead skin off your leg.
Hang on a second. I'm going to go vomit into a trash can.
Now
real quick.
listen, the worst fucking part.
It gets worse? That sounds worse. Scrubbing my burned injury.
Is that when your body tries to check out, like, this pain, I can take no more, and you
Yeah.
try to faint,
Yeah.
they will smelling salt you, immediately bringing you back to the pain and the torture. There's no fucking escape.
I hope their treatment of you had nothing to do with your prior bad behavior.
Right? Who knows? Like, oh no, you're not sleeping through this pain.
Yeah,
Smelling salt, straight back to torture.
Yeah. Trish, it's time for your rock salt and Jack's enema.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. No, a frozen fish stick is what we give all the guests for food.
We leave all of our guests sitting facing this wall for 2 hours while we wait for our staff to transport them back to the room. That's another thing they got at me.
Oh, jeez.
They got mad at me about when I was there. Is I went to a treatment, and then they literally faced me against a wall and left me sit there. And I was sitting there for over an hour, and no one ever came.
Geez.
And so I just wheeled back to my room by myself.
Yeah,
And they flipped out about that. I said, listen, I was staring at a wall for an hour unattended. That's more dangerous than me getting back to my room.
And for our audience, this was pre-cell phone, pre the ubiquity of people having cell phones. So it's not like you could open your phone up and call somebody or text somebody or look at an app or anything. You had like maybe an old copy of National Geographic. You had nothing to do except read old magazines.
Shit, if I even had a magazine against that wall, I would have behaved myself.
Yeah.
But leave you with absolutely nothing. I was pretty pissed.
That's crazy. That's fucking insane. Well, Trish, I would love to say let that be a lesson to you, but I think this would be a much different story if we were laughing and joking about the time you lost your leg. So I'm happy that we're able to tell this story in a fun fashion because the outcome for you was
thankfully.
good. I want to thank you for coming on to the story of my friends. The reason it's a show is because of stories exactly like yours that I've heard over the years and just thought, hey, more people need to hear this. In fact, more people need to hear this than having their opinion told to them by some screaming, blathering, talking head who's just interested in stoking controversy and being the loudest person on the internet. So hoping that people can get together, share stories, hear stuff like this, and realize that, hey, we have these stories. And if you do, reach out to us at joe@thestoryofmyfriends.com or joe@tsomf.com if you don't like to spell stuff out. And Trish, thank you so much for spending the time and sharing your story with us today.
Gracias. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Trisha Rae Stahl. Rae is R-A-E. Or you can catch me on TikTok at Trisha Trasha Pinky Rae.
Both of those will be available on our website as well for posterity. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the story of my friends. That's our show.
Oh, that's what I suffered, and that's why I suffered.
The Story of My Friends is a production of JF3 Co., produced by yours truly, Joe Friend. We'd like to thank Trisha Rae Stahl for sharing her time and her story of the Great Hospital Escape. Special thanks for our assistant producer, Erica Lotion, and a shout out to all the creators of the clips and whiz-boings used throughout this episode. Acknowledgements, attribution, credits, and thanks can be found on our website at thestoryofmyfriends.com. Questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, ideas, send us an email, listener@thestoryofmyfriends.com.